My name is Jorrit Kleijnen. I'm a film composer and I also make music for commercials, and I have a band called Haven. I ended up interning for Christopher Young because he was at a film music festival in Madrid. That was in 2006. And I booked the same hotel as he did, and I made sure I was meeting him in the lobby, and we had a quick chat. And I remember me saying to him, "It would mean the world to me if I could take a look in your world." And I remember him saying, "Yeah, here's my business card. I will never email or call you back because I have my assistant for it, but write her an email." And I did. And she wrote back, "Our next project is Spider-Man 3. You're the 180th applicant for an internship, so don't get your hopes up." And I remember 2 months later, I got an email saying, we have looked into you, and if you would still want, we would love to have you." And yeah, it was one of the happiest moments in my life. And I think Christopher Young taught me something very important. I took my plane from Amsterdam to Los Angeles. I was 20 years old. And I thought, I'm going to the other side of the world. I'm not knowing anyone. And he has been so warm to me and so incredibly generous. But on the first day, he said, "Jorrit, those stains in the carpet, they're annoying me for weeks now. Can you do something about that?" And I took a little bucket with water and a sponge, and I was taking the stains out of his carpet. And I thought, well, did I take a plane for this? And 1 week later, we're at the Sony Pictures scoring stage with the Hollywood Symphony Orchestra in front of us, 110 people. And he says, "This is Jorrit from Amsterdam, and he's going to conduct the next cue." And he showed me a range of ambition of cleaning stains out of the carpet and conducting an orchestra. And this was the whole range. And he taught me that when someone is asking you something not so nice, just do it and make it the best you can. And if someone asking you something that you don't know how to do it, say, "I'll do it," and make sure it works. And that range, he put that in my brain. And I never, like I said, I never felt too good for anything. And I also was never too insecure to go for something that I've never done before. What working there taught me is that being a team member and making film music a team effort is not so much of a bad thing. And in the Netherlands, there is the difference in budgets. So if you're looking on it on a level of one film, it's more difficult to work in a team because you have to split the money over more people. But we have been working in a team. Like I said, I didn't do a film score ever by myself, always with Alexander and Jacob. That makes me doing this in a team effort and just having dinner at evening together, it just makes it so much nicer. And the creative process is way more, I think, having feedback from a colleague instead of the director makes your presentation, the music that you're about to present to the director, more polished. I always loved, certain in the early days, to use the fact that I've been working in Hollywood. I mean, I've been interning there, but I used it a lot during my pitches. And I mean, Dutch directors and agencies love it. I mean, I have a Dutch friend who moved from the Netherlands to Hollywood, and he gets way more work from the Netherlands because he's living in Hollywood, you know? So it has a sort of appealing factor that is nice. Yeah, the pressure is intense in Hollywood. I mean, the pressure is, you don't have that here. So I remember returning back from Los Angeles home. As I said, I was 20 years old. I was buying soundtrack CDs every week. I had a little job, and all the money I was making there, I spent it on buying CDs. And I went home every week with the CDs under my arm. And I was reading the inlay, the booklets of the CDs, seeing assistant to the composer, music editor, programming and stuff. And I was looking up to these people, like they were statues to me. They were like up here. And after returning from Hollywood, I just realized that they were just people like me, from flesh and blood, being in a different environment, working different hours. But I said to my family and my friends when I returned, I don't want to have on some gravestone, Here lies Jorrit Kleijnen. He did the 120 film scores, maybe was nominated for I don't know what, but never saw his family ever. Tom Holkenborg, Junkie XL, said during a masterclass once, the bar is set by the maniacs, and especially in Hollywood. If there's a rejected score, some test audience is rejecting a score, it's possible that a composer gets the job to revisit or redo a whole score within 3 weeks. And if everyone would have said it's not possible, no one would ever ask that. But apparently someone has ever done it. So that's the new normal. And yeah, I don't want to live a life like that. So I'm ambitious enough to do it. But I'm having a good life here in the Netherlands, and I love to have more autonomy about what I'm doing and when I'm doing it and who I'm doing it with, and I'm very thankful that I can do that. Of course, there are certain rules. Certain instruments go well with a certain genre, but I think also every director who's coming here says, I don't want to have roses colored red. So we're living in also in a time era where cliches are trying to be abandoned. So yeah, if there's a Western, they'll probably tell you not to do it with guitars. And if there's a superhero movie, they probably tell you not to use French horns for a heroic feeling. And in all honesty, it's a secret I'm telling you. I can love red roses. When it's beautiful roses and they're beautifully red, I'm not afraid of that. So I really understand the urge to be different. I really hear that. But you can also be different because you have done it very, very well. And sometimes I think the avoidance of cliches is a little bit too of a neurotic mission. And sometimes I'm thinking it's because one is afraid because it won't work out well. But there's a reason why superhero movies are masculine. And I mean, when the superhero is coming in, you're not playing just the solo violin, yeah, being in a pop band and a film composer is at this moment sort of 50-50. And I couldn't live without one of them now. I love the exposure of being on a pop band. I grant every film composer the feeling of being on a stage, playing your ass off for 1.5 hours and then taking a bow and people applauding for you. I think every film composer deserves that as well, but never gets it. So I'm super happy that I get that feeling, because being at a premiere of a movie, yeah, how proud you can be, but you will always serve the movie, and that's your job, but it's really nice. Could also never do without film composing, because that was my gut reaction, my gut plan, and it was so strong that I will always stick to it. I remember being 9 years old, seeing The Lion King, Simba mourning about his dad in this valley, and these notes from Hans Zimmer, and seeing the interview afterwards of Hans Zimmer saying that he wrote it for his dad, and you can put so much personal stuff in film composing that I would also never could do without it. Well, quite recently, I think since 1.5 years ago, I rediscovered Lego, and it symbolizes the connection with my inner child. I kind of lost that, maybe. I don't want to be too heavy on saying that, but at least what it does, it really allows me to be creative in a different way, to use a different piece of my brain. It's like making a puzzle with a better result. And I also love to assemble it all. It's here in the hallway, and I have a nice eye catcher. So it's also cool. Everyone who enters the studio in a new way has something to say about it, and it's a nice start of the day. And yeah, Lego is a very smart brand who releases a lot of beautiful stuff. So you stay engaged, and that's cool. If I have one piece of advice for composers who are starting out, it is, please don't believe that there's a path to success that's universal and that you don't know about. That's what I always thought. It's like, shit, everyone is knowing the secret door, from Alice in Wonderland, and I'm not knowing what it is. And I'm just saying, get up every day, be enthusiastic about what you're doing, make sure that you're inviting people to your enthusiasm about it. Be true to yourself, be honest, and never give up. And remember, the best things are always made after 12 o'clock with that horrible Red Bull. The movie score I enjoyed the most making was Some of Histories. What I loved about it is that it was the most colorful project. Sometimes I should go to Hollywood because the canvas that you can work on allows more colorful music, bigger, more outspoken. What I loved about Some of Histories is that it allowed the score to be colorful and enchanting and not necessarily big, but the director wanted a very enhancing, colorful score, and I remember having a lot of fun working on that. What really triggers me is not a movie that's being scored badly. It's a movie that's being scored amazing, and see if I can do it again. One of the recent scores that moved me was Tolkien from Newman, and it was just brilliantly done. But what I also love is Unfaithful. It's a romantic movie from, I don't know, 2000. I remember seeing it as a boy. It was scored by Jan Kaczmarek, a Polish composer. Beautiful piano music that influenced me heavily. And maybe what I would really love to do is a movie called Dinosaur. It's done by James Newton Howard, and I just love the score so much that I would love to redo that movie with trying to get as colorful and big as him. But then I would need to know his score, because it would make me so ambitious to level up to that. You know what I mean? Also, yeah, like I said, I always love to have a good reference. I like to be inspired by things that are being done good. I'm not the kind of guy who says, this is my world and whatever I'm feeling. I just love to, if other people are setting the bar. I think in the Dutch film scoring world and my colleague composers, I think we can be very proud of that. We have a great diversity. You can still mention very different voices and own voices, which I think is quite an achievement in such a small country. And last Friday, my good friends Rui and Jasper won Golden Caliph for their score of Pisa. And I was super proud of them, because I know them both very well. I also know how different they are. And to me, that's emphasizing once again how amazing and how important a collaboration can be. Rui is a young guy having worked for Afrojack and huge DJs as a EDM producer who wanted to go into film score. And Jasper is really a very alternative composer, and they merged and they were like Romeo and Juliet musically, and if they collaborate, they win this Gouden Kalef for their score. And I remember seeing the movie being beautifully scored. So once more, congratulations, guys.